Good day, and welcome to the Frontline Chatter podcast. I am your host, Jarian Gibson, and I'm here today with another one of our board members, Janna White. How you doing today, Janna?
Oh, doing good for a Thursday. Yay.
Yeah, the week's almost over. It's almost the weekend. Any big plans for the weekend?
Just trying to stay dry. It's really wet in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, you're getting all the weather that we had recently too, as well. So I think we're done with it. I think it's gonna be dry here this weekend. Um, so let's go ahead and get into our topic today. We are here with one of our founding partners of the World of EUC, Dave Fiske from Nerdio. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing great.
It's great to
So
see you
before
again, Dave.
so before we get started and get into the questions, kind of tell us about yourself and what you do at Nerdio.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jarian. So my name is Dave Fiske. I'm a lead EUC strategist at Nerdio. And what that means is I'm an evangelist. I'm a tech evangelist. I've been in the EUC space since before it was called EUC, dating back to 1999. Yes, that was a 19 in the front of
You just
all of that.
aged yourself.
Yeah. It's been besides my wife and my family, it's been the love of my life. EUC has, right? It's helped me get to where I'm at. It's helped me um, grow my career. Right, I started off, at the bottom, just like everybody does, and I've been able to propel myself into lots of different roles. I've been a customer. I've been a partner. I've worked for two different EUC, actually three different EUC vendors, and now I'm here to spread the good news of Nerdio, all things Nerdio, how we can help you. I am a free resource for anybody to reach out to, via LinkedIn. That's my preferred platform. You can find me on there. You can find me on Twitter or X, and Blue Sky as well at MetaFisk. So if you think Meta Fisk, like, it has nothing to do with Facebook. That would be MetaFrame, dating back to those days.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and also too, Nerdio actually recently had unicorn status as well. So big congratulations on that. You guys had a great evaluation, and you guys are just steaming ahead pretty strong.
We are, and we were cash flow positive before we had this investor come in and throw a lot of money at us, and the reason they did that is they believe in what Nerdio has to offer, and they want us to accelerate our growth. And if you don't know what Jarian's referring to with unicorn statuses, we hit like a 0.001% or whatever the number is of all companies, all startups that can get to a certain valuation and status in the market. And Nerdio did hit that with an over $1 billion evaluation, and we're just a few
Wow.
years.
Yeah.
That's definitely an achievement there.
It is, and it's fun to be at a company that is growing, and that not only investors want to be involved in, but that customers and prospects are wanting to come and talk to us, and partners of ours as well are coming to us saying, hey, how can we want to leverage Nerdio, we want to be a part of your partner program. Or Microsoft is saying, hey, if you want to do AVD, they're saying, come to Nerdio. Nerdio will help us get you as in the customer to where you need to be and where you want to be successful.
So kind of transition into that. So for our listeners, kind of taking a step back, who may not have worked with Nerdio or work with AVD or any of the Microsoft suite of products, can you kind of tell us about Nerdio and kind of give us an overview for those listeners?
Yeah. So Nerdio has two different solutions for you. So you have what we call NME, or Nerdio Manager for Enterprise, and then we have Nerdio Manager for MSPs, or NMM, and they're two different solutions that are nearly identical but not quite the same. The MSP one is for your hosting providers that are doing small, medium-sized businesses, sometimes larger. We do have some MSP providers that have some very large deployments. And then we have the NME solution, so the enterprise, which is what is the majority of the customers out there that are wanting to service themselves. And you go out to Azure, It's very simple. You go to the Azure Marketplace, you type in Nerdio in the search, and you'll find both of those solutions out there for you to download. It takes about 20 minutes to install. It's very quick, very simple, very painless. In fact, there's a free trial if you want to just go out there and try it. And you can go ahead and install Nerdio and attach it to your AVD environment, or I'm sorry, your Azure environment, and control all of your Azure Virtual Desktop, your AVD, as well as your Windows 365, or anything that you would manage within Intune, whether that be a physical device or a virtual device.
Cool. Well, y'all are recently coming off of a NerdioCon this year in sunny California. So is there anything big news related came from
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So at NerdioCon, which was held, and yes, it was very sunny and hot, and it was it was
But why
great.
you're so red?
Actually, I
And
did get this tan, yes, while I was there, because it was in Palm Springs, and everything in Palm Springs is outside. You have to walk to all the different convention rooms of the convention center outside. It was very cool. Um, so some of the announcements that we had. So, like I said, we have two different solutions. NME, we announced the I'll call it 7.x product. Came out as 701. And then we have the NMM solution, which is a 6.x product. They're nearly feature comparison the same, but there are a few different differences within those solutions. We can kind of talk about some of that maybe a little bit later. Some of the big feature announcements with that, though, is the full support of Windows 365. So that was our big announcement, that we fully support that. So we were originally created as a company that was for Azure Virtual Desktop, and then we've now evolved with the times and added additional capabilities. So we're not stopping our just like Microsoft isn't stopping development on Azure Virtual Desktop. There are some rumors out there that say they are. I've talked with Scott Manchester. He says they absolutely are not. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So we're continuing down that path, as well as the Windows 365 and Intune. And we've got a lot of new features within that 7.0 product. And ironically, the biggest feature that got the biggest applause, or the feature that got the biggest applause, was dark mode.
yeah,
I guess.
we like to
There.
save our eyes, okay?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a dark mode guy too, except for when you're working outside, and dark mode just is too dark. But yeah.
So you kind of already gave us like a hint of what the new features were for MSP and for enterprise. So I'm kind of going to skip over that a little bit and kind of go right to, you said there are some differences between MSP and enterprise, and Nerdio originally started off for MSP and then expanded to enterprise. So kind of tell us the differences there, and then about those two product segments.
Yeah. So if you look at the history of Nerdio, we've been around for more than 10 years. It wasn't called Nerdio back then, and it was an MSP solution, like you just said. At one point, Nerdio actually sold off the MSP side of the business and created an enterprise side of the business, because Microsoft came to us right around the pandemic time. I don't know exactly the timing that has to do with it, and said, "Hey, we've got WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop, but it's all command line. It's very difficult for customers to deploy, but it's a great solution. Can you help us? Put a GUI in front of it to be able to manage that." So that's really where Nerdio Manager for Enterprise came into existence, roughly 5-ish years ago. Today is 2025. So that's really where that solution came in. And then they're like, you know what, we really need to have that MSP solution as well. So there's kind of two tracks that we go down with the MSP solution. MSP solution is focused on managing more than just AVD or Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365 and Intune. You can also do a lot of the Entra management. So the other capabilities that Microsoft has with Entra is part of the MSP solution that is not part of the enterprise solution.
So, I mean, piggybacking on what you just said about the Intra and Intune, what further um, solutions are you pushing forward with the Microsoft portfolio?
Yeah, we're so a lot of the additional capabilities that we're looking at, or that we have recently deployed and are enhancing, is a lot of the reporting. So the Intune reporting metrics, the AVD reporting metrics, Windows 365, as well as what we call auto scale. We're really enhancing those capabilities. Uh, we had another call earlier today. So if you haven't seen that interview, go watch that one. That's on the World of EUC Amplify. But we talked about some of we call it an outside in company. So we take feedback from customers and internalize that. We have calls every Thursday. In fact, I had one just 2 hours ago. It's a 45-minute call that usually goes an hour to an hour and a half. And it's the
Wow.
internal review of every feature request that somebody has put out there. We have that weekly. So every 3 weeks, we go through a cycle of different things, because we do modern work, which is the Windows 365. And then we have the AVD side, and then we have the MSP side. We just reiterate over the top of all of that. So one of the things that customers feel is lacking is reporting, as well as backing up different things. So if you go in, you create an Intune policy, and you delete it through Intune, if you have Nerdio, we've got it backed up. So we can actually do a restore of that policy. We can roll back to any point. If you screw up something, if you, instead of deleting it, you make a setting change. I don't know what that setting change was. Oops. Right. Everybody should hit cancel instead of okay. Even if you haven't made it intended to make any changes, we all have made that mistake of hitting okay, and they're like, oh crap, what did I do? Nerdio can help you fix that as well.
Awesome.
So kind of going into more of that, would you kind of say that if you're deploying AVD out there, or W365, or anything Intune like that, Nerdio is kind of that must-have feature. And you also mentioned that customers help drive your product roadmap, and you do those review calls and that kind of stuff. Does Microsoft also kind of push your product roadmap at all, or give input on that?
Absolutely, they do. Yeah. So Microsoft and Nerdio have regular meetings. In fact, we have 2 people that work for Nerdio that live in the Redmond area. So they go to Microsoft all the time. We have, I think it's 5 full-time resources that are dedicated to the Microsoft Alliance. So working with Microsoft is very important to us. We want to make sure that we are involved with their roadmap, maybe even the roadmap development, but at least knowing what's going on with the roadmap, so that when they have a day one feature, when they release WVD, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we were at day 1 support, day 0 support. So if you wanted to do WVD the day that it was released, you could use Nerdio. So that's how actually deeply ingrained we are with Microsoft. Microsoft was a very big sponsor of ours at Nerdio. I'm sorry, at NerdioCon. Scott Manchester of Microsoft, general manager of their modern work or cloud computing with Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop, was a keynote speaker. And in fact, Scott came in and talked with our MVP. So our NVPs is our Nerdio Value Professional. If you look at at the larger scale, there's MVPs, which are your Microsoft Value Professionals. Citrix used to have a program. Omnissa has a program. We've got a program, and those are to help us understand what the world needs, wants, thought leaders, visionary thinkers,
Like a
people
think
that are
tank,
out there. What's that?
like a think tank.
Absolutely. We had 15 of them at NerdioCon. Scott came in and talked with them, and about, I think, more than half of our NVPs are also Microsoft MVPs. So we have a lot of great knowledge and insight coming from that. We have several MVPs that are Nerdio employees as well. So Microsoft treats us very, very well in our joint relationship.
That's really good to see, to kind of have that collaboration, not only from your customers, but the community, but also too with Microsoft as well. So you kind of have that three-pronged approach there to make sure that you're staying day zero support or day one support with Microsoft, but also too making sure you're meeting customer demand, but also getting that roadmap, that thought leadership going forward too as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And our NVPs are, they get to think for themselves, right? Like they will create their own blogs. They go out and talk at industry events, whether it's World of EUC, which several of our NVPs will be there in August at Amplify. But they also go around to other events around the world and speak on EUC, tie in Nerdio, tie in Microsoft and all their other solutions out there. So it's really nice to have a group of um, let's call them thought leaders, right? That go out and can help not only spread the good news of Nerdio from not a Nerdio employee, right? They're not paid. They're here because they want to be, and that it's just it's a great thing to have.
Yeah. So, speaking of customers and collaboration, customers are, probably looking at a hybrid cloud. So what have you seen with your Nerdio customers in that aspect, in that
Yeah,
regard?
yeah. Hybrid cloud is, it could be a scary thing to some people because if they don't understand how it works, getting into Azure, like if you're on prem and going to move into Azure. I remember my first experience with AVD. It was about 5 years ago when I worked for another vendor, and it's like deer in headlights. You don't know what's going on. Like, I'm so used to using this technology, I don't want to change. And they just, but we know that that's not how the world works, and that's not how technology works, especially, right? Everything changes so fast,
So
um,
constantly evolving, can't
constantly
be
evolving.
stagnant.
Exactly, and what we're seeing from a hybrid ask. In fact, we had a we call it a PAB-CAB, so a partner advisory board and a customer advisory board. We meet sporadically, I'll call it, around the world. So it's not randomly. We do pick, and we were in Sydney last week. I wasn't. I wish I was. Sydney,
Wow.
Australia, and we had, I think it was 75 customers attend, and they were able to provide lots of good feedback. And we had um, the largest number of requests for capabilities of ours was helping people with migrations. So that hybrid, it's like, hey, I have one solution today. We know we want to go somewhere. We want to go to Azure Virtual Desktop plus Windows 365 or one or the other, and this allows. That was the biggest feature request that we had was to allow people to migrate. You can't just a lift and shift is a great idea, but we know that's not really going to happen, right? Like, I can't just take everything that I had, move it over here, and shut that off. It's that that's a pie in the sky idea that just does not work, and we realize that. So we know that it's going to take you time to move away from legacy tools or something else that you were doing in order to move over to a cloud environment, and we support um, Azure as well as Azure Local, which used to be you know
Azure
H,
Stack. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that's another thing that we can do as well, is like, we realize some industries or some companies have on-prem data that is very latency restrictive, right? So if you can run your AVD or your Windows 3, well, actually Windows 365 is not supported yet. So if you can run your AVD on Azure Local and have it right next to your data, we support that. You can have Azure Local as well as Azure in different regions of the world as well. So you're not stuck with Nerdio just sitting with one region. You can put your data in one region, have your users in that same region, or you can have your users spread out geographically according to where they are currently located, or you can put it where the data is located. Right? It doesn't really matter. We fully support all of those.
It helps out with like the, high availability and, the latency and
Yep.
also, disaster recovery as well.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of all that, the cloud was built for that. Nerdio supports all of that as well. So I have in my lab, I have redundant databases. So in 2 different geos or 2 different regions, I've got my Nerdio manager for enterprise set up in both of those regions as well. The neat thing with Nerdio is I don't actually have to do that. I have done that so that I have the full capabilities of showcasing different things. But Nerdio, the way that we're different from other solutions is we are out of band. So we don't sit in between the user and the endpoint that they're trying to connect to. We just help create that, the orchestration of that environment. We are not a protocol. We are not a broker like other solutions out there. So that is one thing that does differ us from everybody else.
You're more like a facilitator.
We are a facilitator. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you mentioned migrations, and so I want to kind of talk about all the change in the EUC space, right? We kind of saw some of the larger vendors make changes with how they do business or spin out on their own. We've also seen some other vendors pop up in the space as well, or they've changed different verticals. So what have you seen the impact of this market change as far as the adoption of Nerdio and AVD? And then who are you seeing as the biggest migration use case, and why are customers switching?
Well, that's a lot of questions.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. What was okay?
Okay, so the first one, let's kind of take a step back here. The first one is the impact and the change of the EUC space and the adoption of Nerdio and AVD.
Okay. So the way that I see the adoption and the impact with the marketplace changing, right? A couple years ago, there was really 2 solutions that the majority of customers were using. There were some other ones out there, and none of those were native Microsoft. And then a few years ago, Microsoft started stepping in and saying, "Hey, you know what? We can do this without others because use case XYZ doesn't need to have the Cadillac or the Rolls Royce, right? It works fine." And with just leveraging the Prius, right? I've heard some people say like, "Hey, I can get from point A to point B with the hybrid, and it might cost me a little bit less overall." And that's kind of where the car metaphors come into play, where I don't need to have all the bells and whistles that some of the other providers had at the time that Microsoft didn't have. Now Microsoft actually has most of those capabilities built into the solution. So really, you get to start thinking like, do I really need to have solution, vendor A or vendor B to do that, or can I just leverage my existing EA agreement that I have with Microsoft and utilize Azure for deploying all our tool or all of my tools, and then have Nerdio use that to manage and orchestrate all those capabilities? And am I saving money? Yes, I am. So that's really where kind of the changes come into play. And if you would have asked me 6 or 7 years ago, is there any other way to deploy something other than the vendor that I used to work for? I would have said no. And now I'm here to say, why not?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, kind of stepping in, I kind of focus on AVD there, but, you guys support W365, you support local machines with Intune policies. So, as you're seeing those migrations from other vendors into Nerdio, or is it more AVD? Is it W365? Is it physical with Intune? Is it a mix? What's kind of the biggest migration use case there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I can answer it yes to all 3 of those. Because
It depends.
they're all different use. Yeah, it depends, right? They're all different use cases. So I heard a number that are just Intune managed, and so they're not doing any AVD or Windows 365, and it's in the hundreds of thousands of endpoints that are just Intune management through Nerdio. And that was before we announced the 7.0 and the 6.0 releases that have enhanced Intune capabilities. So that shows you that people are finding value in Nerdio just for that use case. Now, the majority of our deployments are AVD because that's kind of like that's the old guy in the room, right? Even though it's not that old, it's what the majority of people were operating on. And then so Microsoft was pushing people that way. We were enabling Microsoft to be able to do that, enabling customers to be successful in deploying AVD. Now what we're seeing is a mixture of AVD and Windows 365, or people just looking at Windows 365 standalone. And the reason I say that is I was at an event 2 weeks ago at the Microsoft office here in Minneapolis, where I'm at as a Nerdio event. We co-hosted an event together, and I had actually a former customer of mine, and somebody who I've known for 23 years, a long time.
Wow.
And he was, I sat next to him, we were chatting, and he's like, yeah, my security team won't let us go AVD. We are only looking at Windows 365, and we're looking at managing it through Nerdio. I'm like, that's great. Like, I'm glad you're here. Learn how we can do that so you can take it back and share the story on all of that. So there's a reason for that large financial institution to not look at AVD. Now, I don't know if it's credible or not that his security team didn't like that, but that was the reality of what was told to him.
Wow.
You have to go into 365 because it's managed just like an endpoint, and they are a legacy. One of the big two solutions out there, and they will be for a while. But they're looking at how to add additional use cases or migrate away from some use cases that don't need to be there anymore.
Speaking
And
of
so that kind of, go ahead, Janna.
yeah, sorry. What are the top Nerdio use cases that you see with customers today?
The top use cases?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are really really gung ho on healthcare recently. So there's been a large uptick in the healthcare industry. So the healthcare industry, if you didn't know, at least in the United States, virtually everybody that at least uses Epic as their HMR leveraged either Citrix or Omnissa / VMware in the past, and now they're looking at, hey, I can actually use Microsoft native solutions to be able to deploy these out. So we're able to leverage our relationship with Microsoft to be able to help them go in and be successful. In fact, I was talking with a very large healthcare provider in the Eastern time zone. I'll leave it at that. And they were running AVD native already to access their healthcare systems. And he said, I would love to use Nerdio, but my manager says, or my leadership says, well, you're doing everything through all these custom scripts. I don't think you could save us money. They're implementing Nerdio because we now have proven that even the best person out there that has the best skills in scripting and can't touch the return of investment that you have with the Nerdio solution, adding on top of all of that. And we haven't even talked about how Nerdio can save you money. And
Oh, I know.
It also leads into as well, if that person is the only one doing that and managing that with those scripts and they leave or something happens to them and there's no knowledge transfer, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place then. So, it's not just that. It's just, making sure that there's transfer of knowledge, that more than one person can do it. We all know the horror stories in EUC where you went to go do like a migration or an upgrade or, anything like that. I'm like, well, you can't touch this because it's an in-house developed app. The person's left. No one knows what to do with it. So just leave that there. And in the meantime, we're developing this new app. Yeah. So it's always those stories like that.
And in there. Yeah, I guess I totally agree. And I used to explain it as well, I get hit by a bus. What happens if I get hit by a bus? And then somebody said, well, what if you win the lottery? right? Like, they're both a life-changing experience, and I don't play the lottery, so I'm never going to win it. But right, if somebody leaves that had full control over all those capabilities, you're up a creek with
Yep.
trying to figure out if something breaks, right? How do I fix this, or how do I change it for a holiday schedule, or there's lots of different things, and Nerdio can help you with all of those and automate all of that and make it very simple.
So you kind of mentioned, how Nerdio can help with everything when it comes to the Microsoft integration and so forth. You mentioned that customers, the metaphor of, they can get by with the Prius, they don't need all the bells and whistles. Are there any other reasons why customers are switching from other solutions over to Nerdio plus
Yeah.
Microsoft?
Yeah. So we've got a lot of different features, but the biggest feature for me has to do with auto scale. So Microsoft supports auto scale natively within AVD. Windows 365 auto scale is not required because you just pay for that machine, whether it's on or off. You're paying the same price. With Azure Virtual Desktop, you're not. You're paying for the utilization of that device that is when it's on, and even when it's off if you're not doing it right. So what Nerdio can do with autoscale is we can actually turn off and then actually decommission that device where it is no longer present within Azure environment. By stating that, I mean, like, we can not just shut it off and deallocate it, but we can actually delete the disk as well. So then you're not paying for anything on that. Or you can just say, you know what, I just want to decommission this device, but I want to leave the disk intact. So when I boot it up, it fires up really quick versus having to rebuild that disk. So that's really the biggest feature of why people like Nerdio and can save money with that is auto scale. And there's a whole bunch more to do with that, where we can spin up devices based on time of day, based on utilization. So think of, if you remember, like the different metrics that you could use to say, okay, if CPU hits this and memory hits this and users hit this, we can do all of those with autoscale. Spin machines up, spin machines down, in order to have your users experience good. And in fact, you can say, hey, I want to build 10 machines, but when those 10 machines are full, before they get full, I want to spin up 2 more. So they'll build in the background, and if they don't get used, they'll just decommission themselves or deprovision themselves and go away. But then they're there for a burst of users should they need be, automatically. So that we're always keeping that user's experience top of mind within the management console and autoscale itself.
Yeah, I can definitely attest. Our company is a user, one of your customers. And I can definitely attest that y'all made the transition of migrating to AVD very easy, and management of that environment was very easy, especially with the auto scaling that, it showed us the cost and value
Mhm.
of that. Just
Yeah,
one alone.
that's great. That's great to hear. And one of the things that I'll also add to that is, um, within autoscale, we will tell you how much money you saved
Mhm.
within autoscale versus not doing anything. So that's
That's
really,
really big for my boss to see that, the
yeah,
numbers,
yeah,
to do the
absolutely,
comparison of what is it we're paying, now, and then seeing how it's itemized as well. It's really good value of seeing that visibility.
yeah, yeah. And to me, that's really important, right? We break it down to the VM being on the disk, all of the cost elements of that, and you can plug in your own numbers as well. So if you have, a different pricing model than native, which most enterprises do, you can plug in your own numbers to make sure that those numbers align to yours. The other thing that we do um, within Nerdio is we can give you recommendations. So we can say, hey, if you change this VM to add more RAM or add more CPU, you can get X amount of users more, or your users' performance will be better. That type of stuff. So we can make recommendations Not and when I say we can, we do. you you just click on recommendations. It's a button, and it will tell you exactly what is being recommended. And maybe someday we will actually have a button that says, "Do you just make those changes for me?" But today you have to go in and make the changes yourself.
Very nice.
Okay, so we talked about NerdioCon, and any thoughts on changes to the EUC community, and um, with those changes, uh, has some gone away, or has some new ones started that you see as very beneficial for the community?
Yeah, I think that the way that I see the EUC community as a whole is there used to be some giants out there that thought they could do everything, and now we're realizing, hey, I can actually do this with this product or solution, and it can be integrated sometimes with another solution. So perhaps you're a control up customer. If you're a control up customer, we have a plugin inside of Nerdio Manager to go directly into control up. So that's where we're seeing some combinations of, I've got these other vendors, but we're also able to tie all of our research together in order to uh, make a good experience for users. Dex is an important thing.
Yep.
And Dex, if you don't know what that is, it's digital employee experience. It's what a lot of our recommendation numbers are based off of. But we're not a Dex company, so we're gonna go out and ask our partners out there to help us be successful with that, because we already know our customers are out there looking for it.
And so, kind of expanding on the community stuff too, as well, because you said communities can partner up. All the changes, Nerdio has recently launched their own community.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the MVP or the Nerdio valued professionals. How they help with the product roadmap, the meetings, and that kind of stuff. Do you want to give us any more information on the community plus the program?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm actually the owner of Nerdio Community. So Nerdio
Mhm.
Community today exists on LinkedIn. So if you just go out and type in Nerdio Community, you can join our group. I would recommend it. I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a Nerdio customer, go out and just see what's out there. It's not all about Nerdio, right? There's some other EUC related stuff out there. We help promote like World of EUC events inside of there, and some other events out there as well. But it's just a way to kind of peek into the community where you can be involved, or you can just be a lurker, right? I would love for you to be involved. Like share a success, share a failure, share something, right? That's really what community is all about. It's not just me. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to deploy EUC as well. I know, like I've known of you, Jarian, for I don't know 20 years almost.
Yeah, we go back a long way.
There's a lifetime there.
and I randomly have people come up to me and say, "Hey, I've never met you before, but I've known of you for such a long time, and it's nice to, it's really what community is all about." And whether you're a part of Nerdio community or just the EUC community in general, it's a great thing, and that's really why I liked part of like World of EUC. We're big proponents of that idea. That idea. We're big proponents of the World of EUC and community in general, right? Because we're able to go out and say, hey, I can't conquer the world on my own. But let me bring in my friends and have these chats, these frontline chatters.
Yes. And sometimes you can make long-term friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how actually our board came together, is just through community and friends and that kind of stuff. And now we're all friends. So it's like I said, with community, what it doesn't matter. It's communities out there. All of us are working together. We're all friends. It's that kind of saying that rising tides floats all boats. We're all here to help each other out. So I will admit too, I'm also a lurker in your community as well. I don't do much today with Nerdio because of where I'm at in my role, but I am a lurker in the community.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Nice.
That's I've got people from our competitors that are in there, and I don't care. Like, I want you to be there. I'm a part of their communities too because I want to know what's going on in the world.
Mhm.
And if I just look at one thing, I'm not going to get a well-rounded picture.
Yep.
So that's why it's important. And we just launched Nerdio Community on LinkedIn in February, and I believe it's either 700 or 800 members
Nice.
as a part of that group now. And we are looking to grow that group into other platforms. So hopefully, posting on other socials as well as have our own dedicated site. But LinkedIn was the easy button for me to go
Yep.
out and deploy. I know that's the first place I go nowadays for looking at, how do I find something? World of EUC is out on LinkedIn. We're there. Our competitors are out there. Everybody seems to be, at least in the tech community, use LinkedIn very well. So that's why we went that route. And then I want to give a plug. I am a local chapter leader of the World of EUC. So if you live in a city that has World of EUC events, please attend. I highly recommend it. We just had one in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago. Nerdio has been a sponsor in Chicago a couple weeks ago. We'll be in Denver in a few weeks, and I'll be in Cincinnati myself in a few weeks as well. So it's World of EUC is a very big part of our community, and we're part of other communities as well. So I'm going to be in Toronto in a few weeks at Workplace Ninjas,
Nice.
another community out there, but a little bit different focus, right? That one's not solely EUC, and we just want to be where you are, and we would love for you to come see us wherever we are as well.
Yeah. I mean, you listed a lot of upcoming events and so forth. So hopefully the big event after NerdioCon will be EUC World for you, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, I will be there. And it's right down the road from me. I live just a few miles off the interstate that runs right by where the event is, about 30 miles from my house. So 50 kilometers for you non-Americans.
Yeah. I'm
And
looking forward to meeting you in person again. And you got to give us some recommendations on where to eat.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
sightsee around the town while we're there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping to make it to the Minnesota United soccer,
Ooh.
so football
Mm.
soccer club, is playing an international game against a Mexican team,
Nice.
and that's on Wednesday. So I'm hoping that becomes an evening game that we can go during World of EUC, but we'll see. It could end up being an afternoon game, and then we'll all be at the event. So
Those are
that,
fun games too, because I took advantage when Manchester United came here to Arrowhead to play Sporting KC, and then there was a Mexican team that also came and played at the current stadium as well. So it's always nice to see those international matchups.
absolutely, I'm a big soccer football fan. I watched Chelsea yesterday win their trophy. They now have all of the trophies that are possible in the UEFA
Wow.
uh, in the UEFA area, and yeah, it's fun.
Well, as we kind of close things down here, Dave and Janna, any closing remarks from you, Janna, about that? Because you're a customer, so anything you want to say about your experience with Nerdio? You said it helped you with migration. Anything else going on there?
Yeah. I am in a company that is healthcare. So yes, we are definitely uh, in need of using that for our end users, and based on a lot of our feedback from them, it's been very fast. We have not really had any major problems of ha- managing our AVDs. Um, I'm definitely going to communicate to our EUC teams at my company to join your Nerdio community as well. So we'll be plugging that for you as well.
Awesome.
Any
So much.
close? Or go ahead.
Yeah, go
Any
ahead.
any additional comments from you, Dave, or anything that maybe we didn't go over that you want to tell the listeners or anything?
Yeah, so I covered. You asked me what what the favorite feature is of customers. I said auto scale. There's so many more capabilities and features that we have out there with scripting and automation, application deployment. There's just so much goodness that Nerdio has to do to help you manage your virtual environments. Whether it be Windows 365, an actual endpoint, or AVD. So we're very very important in helping you be successful. And me being somebody who didn't know AVD at all before coming to Nerdio, other than I was scared of it, Nerdio made it really easy. In fact, I was able to deploy on my own an environment of soup to nuts in about 2 hours. Downloading Nerdio, setting up my Azure environment, including the network, like everything, my Entra ID, and deploying out a golden image to 3 VMs in under 2 hours. Never doing it before. So that's really
That's fast deployment there.
Yeah, especially in cloud. Well, time to value matters because you're paying up those resources. So
absolutely. Yep.
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on with us, Dave, today. Thank you to the whole Nerdio team for your continued support with the World of EUC in the community. For those listening, make sure that you subscribe to the different channels out there. YouTube, you can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching the video on YouTube, make sure that you join World of EUC. .org, join the Slack, join the Nerdio community on LinkedIn, making sure that you're out there being involved in the community. Thank you to our sponsors for their continued support. So our founding partners, Tenzig, Goliath Technologies, iGel, Liquidware, Omnissa, Nerdio, and Nutanix, our channel founding sponsor, Choice Solutions, and our new core sponsors for this year, Google and Parallels. Also, don't forget that World of EUC, we're going to have EUC World Amplify August 4th through 7th in Minneapolis. So there's still time to register. By the time this podcast is out, the early bird pile will be over with, but you can still join us as well if you're listening to this podcast after this week, which most is likely. So anyways, thank you again, Dave. Thank you, Janna, for joining us today as well.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing everyone at EUC World Amplify. Thank you to listening to the Frontline Chatter podcast, and we will talk to you next time.
All right. See y'all next time.